Hello everybody, welcome back to our Tuesday Talk. Tonight we want to continue our journey, our adventure, and tell you guys about the next business that we had.
That's right.
Ignore our dog. Okay. Quick recap. Last week we talked about our first business.
Yep, our drop shipping business. We did it for a year or so. It was not as successful as we liked, but it was a good learning experience.
Right, so we started that in 2016. And we did that for, I don't know, did you say a full year?
Almost a year.
Okay.
I think it was almost a year when we did that.
The second part of this video, we're going to talk to you more about, just to kind of move on with our organization, but we're going to actually talk about
photography.
That's right.
And kind of our setup and where we are with that right now.
I think this is another big part of just really fine-tuning your system, you know, making sure that your system's in place. Now, our system may not work for you, may not. You may have to figure out the things that work best for you, but that's going to be our second part of the video.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, you ready to tell them about our second business?
I guess this one's like completely out of left field.
Right. The drop ship, right? It's still a selling business, which we still sold in our second one, but it's a completely different
animal, different model, different everything.
What even made you think of this thing? Like, how did you go from drop shipping to the next one?
I really don't know. It may have been, I don't know where I came up with it. YouTube, probably?
I guess it was just
I don't know where that came about.
I guess we do like to sustain ourselves. Like we like to make sure we have backup foods and things like that. During this time of year, we'll grow our own herbs and, tomato
so maybe
plants,
that's
peppers.
Kind of where it started.
Any guesses yet?
Anyone? Put a comment below if you can.
If you figured out what it was before we got to this point. Okay. All right. You ready?
All right.
Lay it on them.
We were urban farmers.
Yes. Specializing in.
We ended up specializing in microgreens.
Right. Like I never even heard of a microgreen until you came to me and you're like, okay, like the drop shipping, that's just not where I want it to be. I have a different idea.
Yeah. Completely crazy.
So we were urban farmers and we specialized in microgreens.
Which basically, if you don't know what an urban farmer is, basically we didn't have a big plot of land. We had a normal suburban house in a neighborhood and we grew food and things in that space that we had and we sold at a local farmer's market.
We did. And we grew inside our garage. We turned that into, grow a house, that's probably not like the right word.
Yeah, probably not.
You get my point.
Kind of, what am I thinking? Hydroponics?
Yeah.
Sort of ish.
We had a whole setup. We had the shelving systems. We had the lights on them. We watered them every day. We had a system. It was legit. It was a lot of hard work.
It was
like, wow.
A lot of work.
We did.
So we started out with like a bed in the backyard. So I bought this book. I went on Amazon, bought this book on urban farming, read the entire thing, had this awesome plan. Kind of the same things we do with our resale business now. Like I have a plan. I know this is what a bed should look like. This is the size it should be. This is when you plant, how you plant.
I have to commend you. You always do like really good research. Some people are just like, oh, hey, sure, that sounds good. Let's try it. But I do have to say,
I put a lot into it.
Yeah, you
so
did.
It's not just completely off the wall.
No, and you're always like, okay, I have this idea, and then you tell me all about it and like your vision and your like. I definitely think you're more of the dreamer.
For sure.
And I'm more. It's not really the doer. Like I still like to dream, but I guess I'm just. I don't know.
Yeah, I come up with the crazy schemes, and she tells me if they're doable, and then we go for it.
They're always doable, right? Yeah. But like. Realistically looking at things, right, is something you have to set up for, but you do your research, you know ahead of time. So you started with the bed in the backyard.
Yeah, started with one bed in the backyard, and then I had this idea. You know what we should do? We should cut out all the grass in our backyard and turn the entire thing into beds of vegetables.
Yeah, so like let's back up just one quick step. So the strip in the backyard we dug up with just a shovel.
Yeah.
Like there was no formal, we just made lines, we took a shovel and we just kind of took the top layer off.
Yep.
And I think we planted like what, carrots?
Carrots and spinach.
Carrots and spinach.
Yep. Which did fine, but carrots and spinach is not going to be enough for a farmer's market.
No, and it kind of even really did start essentially as like, can we grow it? How are we going to do this? Because you bought a cedar. We still have.
I did. An actual put the seed in and walk along and it plants for you. Like
But then, yes, so your vision grew, right? You're like, okay, this is not enough.
That's not enough, so we need to grow a lot more.
This is a good one.
I decided how many beds we could put in the space that we had.
Yeah.
So we went and bought a sod cutter. Heavy machine.
I mean, like one of the heaviest things.
Yeah.
Like
Stuck in the
entire-
back of the truck, and I don't even know how we got it back up there, honestly.
Well, we didn't buy it. Just quickly.
we didn't buy it.
We
just
actually rented it, but I mean, I honestly don't know how, because it was literally one of the heaviest pieces of equipment I've ever had to pick up. And like,
ridiculous.
I've worked with cattle farming all my life. So anyway, long story short.
So we cut out all the grass.
Which,
we marked out our beds. We got a tiller, rented a tiller. I tilled everything, fertilized, got everything ready.
If you've never cut up the sod in your backyard, like, let me tell you. So when sod is laid down, it has this like, I don't know, plastic netting.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
And it's terrible. So like when you're cutting it up, it gets stuck, and then you got to pull it up, and you got to, I mean, it cuts it for you, and you think, right, like, oh, you're just going to make this nice strip, and then you're just going to roll it up, and it's going to go really well.
Yeah, it didn't roll very well.
You know those things like you see on Instagram or Pinterest, and you're like, going to make the baked good, it's going to look, no. It's kind of like the equivalent of that, right? You think, oh, this is something
like
so
I've got
simple.
this perfect plan, it's going to go smooth, and then it was just a huge cluster.
But we did get it up. So we cut out, I don't know, probably not quite half our backyard, maybe a third.
Yeah, I think maybe a third or so. I don't know, I think I had planned to put like 10 or 12 of these, 30-inch wide beds in. And then we decided, before we dig too much.
Yeah, well, because we started thinking too, we had to get the gas line people out.
Right, yeah, we needed to have it marked, make sure we weren't going to hit anything we weren't supposed to. And then it turns out there was like lines all over that yard.
Oh yeah,
so
everywhere.
Maybe this isn't such a great idea. Probably should have looked at that sooner.
I remember sitting outside one evening, so we used to sit outside all the time on, either with just a ginger ale or a can of beer, whatever your preference may be. And we would literally just think about how we wanted this to look.
Yep.
And so one evening we were sitting out there, and I mean, as you typically do, you're like, hey, I have this great, and I mean this in a good way. You're like, you know what? I know something even better. And it was
the greenhouse?
Yeah, the greenhouse.
Yeah, the greenhouse. Which seemed like a good idea.
I was pretty proud of us.
Yeah, so I went online, we found us a greenhouse, what we wanted, and we built a base for it.
Yep.
We actually built a wooden base from scratch.
Yep.
We did that one ourselves. Put up this greenhouse.
Yep.
Kind of used it. There was some issues with wind until it finally.
Well, eventually a nader got it.
Yeah, really, just got wiped out.
That took it the heck out. No, it literally sucked it up. But I mean,
yeah.
But this is kind of where our microgreen business started to come into play. So we started thinking about, I think, the things that we could, and I'd never heard of a microgreen before. Like,
so you see them a lot in like higher end restaurants, I guess, not really your typical, but they're like the baby parts of the plant.
Yeah.
You plant a seed, the first inch or two that pops up, that's a microgreen.
And they're supposed to be like, thousands times more nutritional than the full plant itself,
superfood,
right? Considered a superfood. Yeah. And they're actually delicious.
They are. If you get the right ones, they're good.
And when we first got into this in 2017, like, you didn't see them in stores. Like, they were not in grocery stores, at least not where we're at.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it wasn't something that we knew about. So I actually went on to these companies that sell seeds to all the big farmers and things, and I ordered. We went through the actual catalog, decided what varieties we wanted, grow times, because most of them took about a week to grow, which was a super short amount of time. Yeah. And that's how we kind of got into the process of doing that.
And they're hard to, okay, first of all, I don't have a green thumb to save my life. Like, I literally killed a plant my mom had grown for 20 years. So I was not in charge of that part of it. I was good at harvesting and then like packaging, but as far as like the day-to-day maintaining of growing, it was definitely not my wheelhouse, but that was yours. And you did a great job.
Yeah, so we grew them actually in these trays. These, I don't even know what size they were, 10 by 20 or something.
Yeah, maybe something like that.
I don't know. So these trays, we filled them with dirt, which we got special dirt.
Yeah,
we
you had to
sifted
sift.
it.
You built your own sifter?
I built a sifter to get it because you want super fine. Because some of these seeds are like,
I mean, so small.
Tiny. I don't even know what to compare it to.
I don't know. Like real small.
Real small. And we measured out so much seed in each thing. And this was our Monday night thing, was planting microgreens.
Yep, and then we harvested on Friday night.
Yep. And packed everything up to go to the farmer's market on Saturday morning.
Yep. And then we were, typical farmer's market. So you get there and set up and you're out there about half a day. And you put up our little tent and our signs. And I mean, we didn't do too bad. We didn't get in. It's like a whole other story for a different day. There's politics and everything, which I'm blown away.
Yeah, I had no idea. This part I should have researched better.
Yeah, but
to realize that we're not in that crowd in this town.
I would never have known. There's no way to know. But in case you might like think about that. If you're like, hey, you know what? That sounds like the business for me. So it turns out to get in like the farmers market, like you had to really know somebody.
Yeah.
They did not just let anyone in.
We kind of got the runaround and basically never got into the good market.
And we would have been on entry level because there wasn't very many people at the time, very few doing microgreens, but they did not want any competition. They did not have a healthy market.
No, definitely not. So we got into a smaller one. We were the only microgreen people out there, so that works. We
made a lot of friends and we sold, but it just was, it was a lot of work and
a whole lot of work and very little return for the amount of work that we had to put in.
I mean, we had to clean our trays. I mean, every part of it, just like now we do ourselves. So it was just a lot of work and it was hot.
Yeah.
Really hot.
Super hot. Super cold in the beginning. Yeah, it was something.
They are delicious. And now, it's funny because the entrepreneur and you went out to restaurants and you were actually selling too.
I did, which is way out of my comfort zone. But I would actually make up sample batches and I would go to restaurants like right as they opened and I would ask to talk to the chef and say, hey, here's what I got and are you interested? And I got a couple accounts that way.
You did, yeah.
But yeah, so we had weekly deliveries I would do to restaurants around town, which was a whole thing for the season.
And eventually, people started really realizing about them and they became more popular. Yeah. And again, there was already some people in town and they just did not like any healthy competition. Yeah. So, between that and just the amount of work and the return, we just kind of determined about a year.
Yeah, we were debating whether we wanted to start again for the next season or not. And then that is when I kind of stumbled into the current reselling that we're in now.
Yeah, and sometime we can go more in depth in the actual microgreens and talk more. So if there's any interest, if you guys are really interested or you want to know how to grow them at home for yourselves, because they are really good.
Yeah, they are.
Just to have if you grow a tray yourself. They're delicious. They taste really good.
Yep.
Salads, sandwiches, toppings, all the things, omelets. So that was our second business, was a microgreen business.
That was number 2.
Yeah, and that
was year 2.
It taught us a lot, though, honestly. I think we just learned how to get even more organized with things, and
it comes down to the same stuff we do now. It's all about processes. Yeah. You have to have a good process so you know what you do every day, how you need to do it, the best way to do it, which is the same kind of thing that we do now.
And we're constantly improving our processes. We've been into it, and we're obviously, you do it full time now, so we're very, very serious about it. But even as we go, we've just been figuring out what works best for us and our setup, because obviously not everyone's going to have the same setup that we do.
No, everyone's different. Everyone's space is different that you have to work in. This is probably, I don't know, like the second or third setup we've had. That we just keep changing things, making it better.
The first, just kind of lay it out there. So the first picture setup, because that's what we're going to kind of show you tonight, is the first time you took pictures. Where did you take pictures?
It was, I don't remember. It was either on the wood floor or we had a wooden table at the time.
I think it was both, honestly, because I remember you doing it in the kitchen.
The worst pictures.
The worst lighting.
Terrible. The light. I didn't know anything about lighting at the time.
You might be able to see one of these pictures if you check out our Poshmark.
Yeah, if you were to look at our closet, you can see some of the old original stuff. No real lighting. I would take pictures in the evening with the light above the table, and you get the weird glare and just kind of grainy. It was bad.
But, we didn't...
They still sold.
They did.
Which is super weird.
And, honestly, we're just, we were starting off. We really didn't know. And there wasn't very many videos. And that's one of the reasons we're doing this, is because there wasn't much information out there,
I felt like then you really had to hunt for information. And there wasn't much out there on the best practice or the best way to do things.
No, we didn't take a photography class. So, lighting and things like that wasn't, some of y'all might be like, listen, because the new iPhones have come a long way since then, even more so.
I don't even know what iPhone we were using back then.
I don't know.
But it was, definitely not the same as what it is now.
So that was the first little bit. We were just taking them on the tabletops or the floor, whatever we could have that was a decent background. And then the second thing we did
So it kind of came around, or I learned about this idea of you should have a white background because Google indexes your listings and they can be shown that way. So a white background is ideal. So we literally painted a wall in our garage.
Yep.
So I went from inside to, where's a free wall I could just put some paint on? Literally, I don't even know, 10, 11 o'clock one night.
Oh yeah,
we're
it was
like,
late.
hey, let's paint this whole wall white.
Yeah.
It was one small, I mean, and we're talking small.
Yeah, I mean, it was just enough to take.
It was just like a little half wall that we painted completely white, and I put one of those sticky hooks on it, and that's where we took pictures from.
That's right. So it was like we had this little section in our garage that was kind of like a, I don't know.
Yeah, like a little kick out, just extra space.
Or you could store things. It was great for storage. We actually had some workout equipment there, but we decided this is perfect because who cares about a wall in the garage being white, right? Like no one cares. It's not inside your home, so it's not weird.
Yep.
And so you did. You put up a sticky.
Yep, put up a sticky hook, and we used that for a while.
For a long time.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that worked for a while.
I mean, it did. It was a really good way to take pictures, and it gave us the white background we were looking for.
Yep.
And then I don't really know when the lighting kind of came in.
I don't know, because we just did it kind of with natural light for a while. And then it came around that you could buy these studio type lights. As you can probably see it behind me here. So we did that.
Yeah.
I picked up some of those on Amazon, which, look down below. I've got a list of stuff that we use. You can check those out.
Yep.
But
which is honestly really helpful because not knowing what to use or how to get it, you take the risk of getting something that just doesn't work, and these actually work really well.
Yeah. So we've got 2 sets of them now. I think the original set I still have up in here. Yeah. But we've got a couple.
So eventually we fast-tracked that a little forward, and we've come to the setup that we have today.
Yep.
And it works really well. It does have a white background.
It is a white background. We've moved from a wall to photo paper.
Yep.
Which is nice because it doesn't have the texture and you don't get the glare and that sort of thing.
That's right.
Which has been good. So photo paper, the lights, I've got lights coming in from both sides now, which you can do that several ways. You can have lights from above, the sides, kind of, there's lots of ways to do that.
Whatever space you're working in, whatever works for you, you know, but just making sure that you do have good quality lighting is huge to make sure that you capture that piece of clothing or whatever it is that you happen to choose to sell. But so that's kind of one of the tips we wanted to share with you tonight is just, pictures are huge and your setup is huge. And if you have to start with just your floor, then that's fine. Start somewhere,
Exactly.
And then over time, as you grow your business and you want to put the money in, or let's say you're already there, then like you said, check out our links. Like we've got it laid out for you. So, we're here to help you.
And we didn't go and buy these things right off the bat. Like, kind of the way we've always done it is if I want something like that, I need to earn it. This business needs to make enough money to earn something like that. And I did the same thing with a label printer.
Yep. Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
For the longest time, I was not going to buy one until we could comfortably do it with what I made from this business. And I would print it on a piece of paper, cut them out, and tape them on a package. Yeah. Until we grew it. And same with the lighting. We used natural light until it made enough we could afford to buy lights and upgrade that setup.
So obviously whatever setup you have, just go with what you have until you're in a place where you can move forward with your business. But once you get there, this is really a great setup. So thanks for joining us this evening.
We appreciate it. A little peek into the weird things that we've done.
No, we appreciate you tuning in as always.
Like, subscribe, hit that bell notification.
We appreciate any feedback. Any questions you have, drop them in the comments below. Let us know, and we will answer any questions that you might have.
That's right.
Are we going to show them at all?
We can. We'll flip over and show you kind of the setup right now. So
yeah, we'll give you a quick little picture, just so you can kind of understand what we're talking about, essentially. But thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, guys. So here's that quick look at our lighting setup we have right now. You can see on this table over here, this is where we bring stuff in. Clothing goes on this table. This is the photo setup, photo paper on a table, a couple lights here. They get photographed, and then they move over to this table where they get packed up and stored away. So super simple. Keep your process easy so it's not complicated. Bring them in, photograph, list them, pack them away, and you're good to go.